Coming up, a major shortage in the Clark County School District, how schools and students are being affected.
Plus, why a local Boy Scout troop put on a carnival for the community and what they're hoping to achieve.
Gusts near 60 miles per hour, what these windy conditions cause right here in the Las Vegas Valley. Studio G starts right now. Thank you for joining us today on Studio G. I'm Ashley Maslow.
And I'm Christy Zarpis. 3 people were killed Wednesday evening in a head-on collision that occurred on North Lamb Boulevard, just south of Interstate 215. The crash involved 3 vehicles carrying a total of 5 passengers, and the 3 people killed were all in one vehicle. One other victim is still in critical condition. Police said a preliminary investigation indicates speed was a factor in the collision and that it appears that the driver carrying the 3 victims pronounced dead on the scene crossed into the oncoming traffic lane and struck another vehicle. The identities of those involved in the crash have not been released.
Houston police have shot and killed a man after a chase that started with a suspected traffic violation. A spokesman for the Harris County Sheriff's Office said that the chase began when police tried to pull over the driver for suspicious activity, including unsafe lane changes and hitting at least 2 other vehicles. 2 Houston police officers told the suspect to show his hands, and as they approached his car, the driver reached back into his vehicle. A statement released by the sheriff's office stated that the officers suspected he was reaching for a weapon. Both officers shot multiple times, killing the man on site. Neither officer was injured, and the statement released didn't say if a weapon had been found in the vehicle.
New details about the Florida mailman who flew his ultralight gyrocopter through some of the most closely protected airspace on the planet. Wednesday afternoon, 61-year-old Douglas Hughes landed his aircraft on the west lawn of the U.S. Capitol. Before his flight, the man announced his plans on the internet and to his hometown newspaper. He said he never intended to hurt anyone and just wanted to do what he could to stop corruption in the nation's capital. He planned to deliver 535 letters to members of Congress urging them to change rules regarding funding for political campaigns. President Obama was in Charlotte when the incident occurred, and no one was injured. He is currently in police custody and charges are pending. Now we go to Alyssa Stein in the newsroom for more on this week's top national stories.
Thanks, Christy. This past Tuesday, the White House announced that President Obama intends to remove Cuba from the American government's list of nations that sponsor terrorism. President Obama's decision to remove Cuba from the list is an effort to turn the page on a Cold War-era dispute. For more than 30 years, Cuba has been on the State Department's list of sponsors of terrorism. In December, Mr. Obama ordered a review of Cuba's status. Cuba will not come off the list until after a 45-day review period. In regards to this news, Cubans are delighted, but felt they should have not been on the list to begin with.
It should have happened a long time ago. They should have never put us on the list to begin with.
I'm delighted, very happy. We're all human beings. We have the right to communicate in the midst of coming and going. My family's there, and I am here. I adore Cuba. The Americans for me are marvelous, but they're like family. We're all human beings and need to live in peace.
Former tight end New England Patriot Aaron Hernandez was found guilty of first-degree murder in the killing of Odin Lloyd. The former NFL star was charged with the murder and the killing of Lloyd, who was dating the sister of his fiancée. Prosecutors said that Mr. Hernandez's motive was that Lloyd spoke at a Boston bar with people that Hernandez did not like. Lloyd was found shot 6 times in a pit near Aaron Hernandez's home in June 2013. The prosecution took more than 2 months and called more than 100 witnesses. Although no murder weapon was located, Mr. Hernandez's size 13 Air Jordans matched the footprints found at the scene of the crime. Low-wage workers, students, and activists gathered in more than 200 cities yesterday in front of fast food restaurants. The striking effort was in regards to the 2.5-year-old battle for increasing minimum wage. Labor is asking to increase the minimum wage to $15, but business groups argue that a substantially higher increase would force employers to reduce hiring and possibly threaten the basic economic model of some industries. And one of the largest protests was right here in Las Vegas, a McDonald's on Eastern Avenue and Flamingo Road. I'm Alyssa Stein. Back to you, Christy and Chelsea.
Also here in Las Vegas this week, some crazy weather. High winds in the valley this week and more than cause a little damage. The winds were close to 60 miles per hour. The dust and debris in the air caused low visibility on the roads. The low visibility also caused many flights to be delayed at McCarran Airport. Truckers were also experiencing the same fate.
Welcome to Las Vegas. We are currently having a sand and dust bowl storm. The sand is hitting me in the face. It's so bad. That's incredible.
More than 2,000 power outages were reported in Las Vegas during the sandstorm. However, most of them were resolved the next morning. The wind has also caused havoc on some of the freeways. Many semi-trucks were knocked over as a result of the wind. At least one fatality has been reported, along with several other injuries. YouTube users took to the internet to share their experience with the windy weather.
From where I was at the plaza, I couldn't even see the stratosphere. And there goes the fire department.
It's so bad that there's all this blowing dust and dirt. It's terrible. I don't want to be breathing this stuff.
Despite being in the middle of the desert, sandstorms are rare here in Las Vegas. The good news, the weather should be back to normal for the rest of the week. The bad news, due to the amount of wind, a disease called valley fever has the potential to plague our air. For more information on the causes and symptoms of this disease, you can visit mayoclinic.org and search for valley fever. So it's crazy that
wind that we had.
Well, not even that, but that it's causing that disease.
I almost got knocked over going into my car. That day was absolute insanity, and now knowing I can get sick, good to know. Coming up after the break, already a record number of pedestrian deaths in Clark County this year, why drivers aren't always to blame, and how pedestrians can protect themselves. Stay tuned.
Enjoy doing my show. I love all types of rock, and that's why I'm doing Rock Through the Decades. We play the 50s all the way to today's rock music or rock bands. I want them to get the appreciation of how much rock has changed over the years and how it's still really great. You can never kill rock. I mean, rock is like the way to be, the way to go. The name of my show is Rock Through the Decades, and I am Rockin' Gemini. You can listen to this on the Rebel HD2 network.
Zero Fatalities is a campaign that is looking to reduce the amount of pedestrian deaths on our roadways to zero, amid increasing deaths on our roadways. The campaign is having some trouble. Reporter Clarissa Levitt tells us a few ways to help keep pedestrians and drivers safe on our roadways.
Since the beginning of the year, Las Vegas has had 17 pedestrian deaths on our roadways. That's up 88% from the same time last year. But with crosswalks such as these, with flashing signs and medians that force you to look into oncoming traffic as you walk, Las Vegas is looking to lower these numbers.
You're not actively looking for threats or dangers on the roadway as a driver.
Traffic Officer Kevin Barker has some suggestions as to how we can lower these numbers besides just the crosswalk changes.
There is a significant issue with focusing on driving and pedestrians focusing on crossing the road safely.
Police have implemented a system that they call SIPD: Scan, Identify, Predict, Decide, and Execute, to add extra protection to both pedestrians and drivers.
Scanning, you're looking for threats, you're looking for behaviors, you're looking for not just cars, but the unexpected things that can come out into the roadway, and asking yourself, what are my threat areas, what are the potential dangers, and how can I mitigate those dangers along my path of travel? That's the identification part. Predict, what could they potentially do? What can that car in front of me do? Deciding. Now once I've predicted, if they move into my path of travel, I've got a decision to make. Do I stop and slow down? Do I speed up maybe and move to another lane? What is the response that I need to do to avoid this accident? And then execute. Execute that maneuver as safely as possible, whatever that maneuver is.
Many laws are currently in place to protect drivers and pedestrians.
We don't focus on it very much, but it is a law that requires drivers to slow down approaching certain types of dangerous situations, curves, hills, crests.
Wearing visible clothing or reflective gear may be useful in most situations except for one: drunk drivers.
The minute we, as law enforcement, pull a DUI driver off the road, we've immediately contributed to public safety for that night, immediately.
It is not only the driver's job to prevent these accidents.
I think it's everybody's job to prevent it. There's no safest place on our roadways.
For Studio G, I'm Clarissa Lovett.
To learn more about how you can prevent pedestrian deaths, visit zerofatalities.nv.com.
Pedestrian safety isn't the only problem Clark County is facing. Nevada has long been known for its low rankings when it comes to public education. Ezra Maha tells us one reason why Clark County School District officials think Las Vegas continues to rank so low. Take a look.
As the national shortage in teachers continues to rise, CCSD is facing its biggest challenge since 2005, with needing more than 2,600 teachers for the upcoming school year.
It's really a teacher shortage nationally, but we feel it most acutely in Nevada because our colleges and universities put out less than 800 candidates per year.
The UNLV and CCSD are working together to recruit more teachers.
We're developing programs here at the college that provide not an easy path to teaching, but a fast track, as you might want to put it. They can take an alternative route to licensure, be a teacher.
Troops to Teachers is really under the umbrella of our Alternative Route to Licensure program. What our Alternative Route to Licensure program does is it takes individuals that have a Bachelor of Arts degree in a different content area and then allows them to be trained as teachers in a shorter time period.
Although it might seem like a fast track, there are also some requirements that you have to put in mind.
In the Alternative Route to Licensure, you cannot enter the program unless you already have a bachelor's degree. So that's the first requirement. We also are trying another path that's a kind of a residency program where we're trying to help these people get their bachelor's in education while they're substituting or teaching in the school district. Then when you come in, you need to have some experience in a school. You have to have some knowledge of the Nevada standards.
You get intense professional development for 5 weeks, and within those 5 weeks you have to spend 3 weeks in a classroom observing a teacher and delivering lessons as you're learning how to become a teacher. But after 5 weeks you are eligible to be hired into a fully benefited position. Then over the next 3 years you participate in additional professional development and additional coursework to become fully licensed within 3 years.
The most positive thing in coming to Las Vegas to teach is that you have the opportunity to touch hundreds of lives.
Although the number may seem large, CCSD has accepted the challenge. For Studio G, I'm Esra Malha.
There are currently 600 vacancies in the Clark County School District. If you're interested in becoming a teacher or a substitute teacher, you can visit their website at www.net/employees/perspective. Coming up after the break, Monica Mandrano sits down with visionary behind UNLV's Theater Time-Lapse Project.
What's the time-lapse project?
Exactly.
I used to have to do things, bad things, just to get by.
I was scared to come home sometimes. The gang knew where I lived.
Mommy said she couldn't afford it, but I want to be a singer when I grow up. I like singing.
I'm not afraid anymore. My life has changed.
My dreams are coming true!
I realize now that my world is so much bigger.
My show's Spinning Indie. We play a lot of alternative music, we play post-punk, a lot of stuff coming out from unsigned or newly signed bands. I like to play an hour of music, and then after the first hour we talk a ton about latest music news in the second hour. A lot of rock and roll going on the show. I'm Kylie O'Rourke, and you can listen to Spinning Indie on rebelht2.com.
Welcome back from the break. I'm here with Michael Lugering, the visionary behind UNLV's Time-Lapse Project. Thank you for being with us today.
Well, thanks for having me.
So let's jump right into it. Can you tell us about what the time-lapse is?
Well, the time-lapse is a live streaming performance that's going to be performed here and in the Greenspun Hall in the auditorium. And it's also being performed in England at Weston College, which is in Weston-super-Mare, which is in the southern part of England. And we'll do it at the same time. So one of the performances here, for an example, is at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon over there, and then we have a midnight performance. So we've rehearsed it all semester live, and we're working back and forth through digital technology, through cameras like you have here, and screens, and actors are interacting. And it'll streams via the internet, and we have about as I'm told, 1/120th second of a delay between here and England, which really made the project possible. So part of what we're exploring is digital technology and performing arts, and how can we explore digital technology in the performing arts.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
So how did UNLV get chosen along with this other school in London?
Well, actually, they approached us to do a project, something over the internet. And then we kept working with UNLV-TV, because I'm from the theater department, and we really don't have a TV studio to sort of film it in, or we certainly don't have the Greenspun TV studios down there. So, we're not without a camera. And we did some research, and we figured out that there was a system called UltraGrid, which is the software system that we're using to stream via the internet. And it was invented in Europe, and we had Brian downloaded it and researched it, and it allows us to stream back and forth with no time delay. We looked at doing the project with Skype, but we found Skype so unsatisfying, as an option, that it was great to move over to this UltraGrid system. It's a piece of freeware, which means free if you download it and you buy the computer and get the software running, but it's been used for things not extensively in the performing arts at all. It's been used for things like open heart surgery, from where one doctor observes another doctor do open heart surgery back and forth in real time. So it's kind of an exciting, affordable technology that allows people to be together in real time across great physical distances.
I wouldn't peg technology used for open heart surgery to be so affordable.
The whole thing, I think, I mean, I didn't pay for it, so we can thank the deans of the College of Fine Arts and the deans of urban affairs for paying for it. But we were actually able to do this for about as little as $10,000 to get the access to the internet and have a computer that would sync and link back and forth. So that part of the project was really exciting, I think, to be able to do it that quickly in time. I mean, we actually, I think, have a faster loop here and there and back than most, satellite television broadcasts that sort of have that big once, that delay back and forth between the two speakers. So it's been exciting.
That is exciting. So you mentioned, that there is a time difference between here in London, of course. That's about 8 hours. What sort of challenges does that pose?
Everybody here's got to get up at 8:30, and which is early for people in the performing arts to be rehearsing in our culture. They're there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So if we go too long, we run too far into their evening. And if we get up too early, we're up too early in the morning. So I think that the time difference, the time change, has been the most difficult part of the collaboration, to be honest. Because, if I send them an email now, they will not get it till the next day. So they're off on, they're at home, it's the evening. So even just emailing back and forth between both countries takes about, an email can have a 15-hour, 16-hour delay before it's read and received. And when you do, like when we work on theater projects at UNLV, you can get a turnaround on an email in 15 minutes, or no sooner do you send it and you have an answer about where the lighting equipment will go, or we need another proper costume. So that part of it, the time distance, has been hard. Yeah.
So other than the time difference, what were some of the other challenges posed?
I think the other biggest challenge, I think, for us was figuring out how to configure the studio in a way that it's not a movie at all. If we were doing a movie, you and I would be here in real time. So we have to bring in a screen and interact with that screen, and where do you place the cameras, and how do the actors play to the screen? How do they play to each other? How are we going to call it? All of that research was fun to explore. I don't know that it was research maybe other people haven't done, but we had not done it here in this way, so it was really useful for us. And for all of the students that are down here, acting students and dance students, many of them are on camera in a significant project for the very first time. So it's very different to interact with an actor that's coming to you some 5,000 miles away in a screen.
Well, that's really exciting. Thank you so much for being here, and we're looking forward to what the project comes about of.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. When we come back, some tips for new moms. Stay tuned.
It's Jazz and a Touch of Soul. The show consists of basically jazz and a little soul music and pulling in a little chill music too, a lot of groups out of the UK. My style of music will help you open your mind more and open your ears to other sounds and other types of music. The name of the show is Jazz and a Touch of Soul. I'm Langston Carter, your host, every Saturday morning from 8 until 10 on rebelhd2.com.
Nearly 3,000 abused and neglected children live in foster care in Clark County because they cannot live safely at home. The CASA program is here to help these children live in safe, permanent homes. By volunteering with CASA, you can make a difference by becoming the voice for these children. Apply now at casalasvegas.org.
With UNLV's diverse demographic, there are plenty of new moms on campus bringing home a newborn. It can be exciting but also stressful. While there are countless resources for new moms, here are a few tips to remember. However, keeping your baby safe and healthy is easier than you think. Just remember these tips. Our first tip is to remember that breastfeeding is preferable.
If you can breastfeed, try to breastfeed.
Your breast milk passes on a lot of valuable antibodies and immunity to your baby and is a valuable way to protect them.
When they're crying.
To soothe the crying baby. Of course, you can carry them, you can walk around with them. Sometimes you can put them in their bouncy seat. If you have a baby that is crying and cannot be soothed, it is okay to take a break.
Our third tip is to look for signs to make sure your baby is okay.
If your baby develops a fever, that's a temperature higher than 100.4, you need to call your pediatrician. If your baby's having trouble breathing, if they're not eating, if they're not urinating, most newborns need to wet a diaper at least every 6 to 8 hours.
And our final tip, if you're ever unsure about your baby's behavior, it's best to call your pediatrician. Dr. Lennon adds, everyone gives new mothers advice on raising babies. It can be overwhelming, but she says the best tip is to trust your instincts.
A local Boy Scout troop joined forces with the community in hopes of raising funds for summer camp. Chelsea Bengal has more.
This is fabulous. You can't have more fun than this.
Troop 370 of Las Vegas, Nevada held their annual fundraiser to raise money for their scouts to go to camp.
This is Spring Into Scouting Las Vegas. It's a fundraiser held with Troop 370, and it also involves a young women's program, and we fundraise money to go to camp.
This event was open to the public in hopes of connecting Troop 370 with the community.
I'm here because there's lots of food and family and friends, and my nieces and nephew like to have fun and play games, and so I thought it was the perfect thing for them and for us as a family.
We're looking for community unity and just overall greatness, and holding events like this helps us recruit more youth.
Community member Jim McFadden, owner of ABC Action Adventures, donated his time and rock wall to help the scouts climb their obstacles.
You can't do enough to keep kids active and keep them out of trouble. Boy Scouts is a great program for that, and whatever we can do to help support them, we're behind it.
This gives them the opportunity to work with the community and people to come out and have fun and do a lot, and the kids to do the work as well and be able to earn their way to camp. I'm not a big fan of, donations are good, but kids need to learn to work for what they get.
Kind of gives you a better appreciation for the activities you get to do when you know the work it took to get there.
It teaches them good life responsibilities. They learn to respect the value of money. They learn what it takes to get there, and they're willing to put forth the effort to do it.
These kids are just, they're kids. I want to see them grow up and be able to understand that as long as you work hard, you can have anything that you want. But you got to work hard for it. You can't just sit around.
For Studio G, I'm Chelsea Bengal.
The Boy Scouts of America currently support more than 300 local councils. For more information, go to lvacbsa.org.
Thanks for watching.
Be sure to tune in tomorrow for the best stories of the week and the reporters behind them. Have a great day, Las Vegas.